Welcome to University Centre Peterborough Workplace Skills module. In this module, we're going to explore how you can develop your employability skills. We will focus upon the current top skills employers are requesting, which are these. These are the skills also required if you're considering self-employment or freelance work. As you go through these, consider which skills you need to develop and which are already strengths, and how you would answer at interview a question relating to any of these, asking you how and when you could evidence each one. Teams are a group of people who rely on each other to meet a common purpose. It's recommended that no more than 10 people constitute a team. Now, they can be led by an individual, which is called a hierarchical lead, or they can be led by a group where there's shared decision making, or it can be a combination of the two. Teams will go through a stage as they form. Initially, as they get to know each other, being quite polite, they're identifying individual roles, and this is called the forming stage. Then people start to push boundaries and conflict can arise. This is regarded as the storming stage. As the differences become more resolved, this becomes a norming, and this means that normality is starting to come within the team. When they start to achieve targets with minimal friction, they are performing. And by the end of the project, they're going to adjourn. So the adjourning stage is where the business might be restructured or the project just simply comes to an end. Consider when you can evidence setting clear goals in a team, developing trust and working relationships, resolving conflict, coaching others, and delegating. And during your time at University Centre Peterborough, we will provide you with the opportunities to develop these skills. Within teamwork, there are a variety of roles you can take, but you might want to find out what your natural status is and then how you can develop. So you would require skills such as maybe being a leader or a people person or a worker or an ideas person. By identifying what your norm role is, you can develop your other skills by ensuring that you don't keep taking the same role. So if you're naturally a leader, then try to take a role that makes you more of a people person to help your teams develop more effectively. You can use the Belbin or the Enneagram test to find out what your natural role is. We would recommend you do both of these. Intercultural skills is where you have the ability to effectively communicate with people from different cultural backgrounds. This could be language or customs, standards or values. You might want to consider how you communicate with others, how you greet them, what title you should use, how you introduce a business card, dining etiquette, for example. Many employers are now asking more and more for this as a skill set because they recognise that without having intercultural awareness, you could damage client or customer relations and internal relations, which would therefore impact upon productivity. Communication generally covers things like daily actions, so you've got questions, explanations, listening, negotiating, whether that be face-to-face, by phone or in writing. It also will cover presenting, networking, creating a rapport, including the use of body language, writing for different styles, and teaching, coaching and mentoring. There are a number of skill sets required here, and each of them you need to develop and find out where your strengths lie. Work out how good you are as an active listener, how culturally intelligent you are, how emotionally intelligent you are, how much you understand your audience, and develop clarity and concise messages. More and more employers are asking for strong literacy and numeracy skills also, and this is because they're recognising that with improved documentation and improved communication, they can effectively improve efficiencies and practices. You may be asked at interview to complete some aptitude tests, and these are to assess your ability with numerical and verbal reasoning, for example. You've got your opportunity while you're at University Centre Peterborough to develop your maths and your English skills, and much of the training here is free for this. So contact the Employer Hub if you require some extra support here. Negotiation is the process by which one side moves away from their original standpoint in order to agree. Now ideally this should be a win-win situation where all the parties come out satisfied. But in order to consider negotiation skills, look at it as a game with very high stakes and where all parties want to win. You want to look at how your skills are, and you will have strengths in different parts of negotiation. For example, you might be stronger where it comes into preparing information, researching, analysing, and planning, looking at your objectives, identifying the objectives of the other side and what strategy you're going to take. You might feel more confident building a rapport with the other party and making your opening statements, asking questions and listening to them, providing information. You may be more confident with the testing of a proposal, listening to what they're saying, providing guidance on where movement's allowed. And this would be part of the bargaining, exchanging and exploring solutions and resolving any conflict. Or your strength might lie in summarising and confirming. But you need to develop all of these skill areas. So again, identify which strength you have and identify where you can develop these skills so that you're a more rounded individual. You might want to explore what kind of negotiator you are. Are you collaborative, competitive, compromising, avoiding or accommodating? This will give you an idea of which skills you want to develop first. Leadership is leading or commanding a team of people, helping them perform to the best of their ability whilst balancing the needs of the team and the aims of the organisation, adapting your style to meet the circumstances. The leader needs to be aware of the task, the individual and the team's needs. There are different leadership styles, but the flexible leader will recognise what the different styles are and use each style as appropriate to meet the needs of the situation or the individual in front of them. So it might be at some point you become a pace-setting leader who actually highlights do as I do and drives and races this pace, or it might be you take more of a coaching technique. In order to develop these skills, identify what your normal operation leadership style is, and then from that you can practice developing those skills that you're not as strong as during your time at University Centre Peterborough. Problems are where someone or something is underperforming. And you need to clearly understand the requirements of the problem in order to identify how to address this. You can see here the steps in problem solving, and this is before you take any action. This is exploring what the problem is. And to do this, you can use the PAID technique, which stands for Problem, Analyse, Identify and Define. So you set a problem, such as, my problem statement is profits are below target. You analyse the problem in detail, what's gone wrong and what's gone well. You identify possible causes, looking at what's different, what's changed, what's the most likely explanations. And then you define the actual causes. What is the most likely explanation and can I prove it? From this, you can then use tools to develop solutions, such as a SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Or you can do the TOWS analysis, which is an extension of SWOT, a lean business planning model, which allows you to focus on reducing waste, or the Six Sigma, which focuses on improving quality of goods and services. Quite often, a combination of strategies is best, depending on the situation. You can then identify what your personal decision-making style is. By taking a test, you can work out where your strength is and which areas you need to develop. The role of the project manager is to bring a project in on time, in budget, and to agree the standards that meet the objectives. It's going to have a limited lifespan with specialist skills required. The project management role can either be a pure role, so you're employed as a project manager, or can be part of a role. So for example, your job, they might ask you to look after a project for a set period of time. There are key stages as listed here where you'll need to explore. So you'll be scoping out the project, timelines, budgets, identifying your specialists and your experts, clearly defining your tasks, your deadlines, your responsibilities, managing your budget in detail, and monitoring your estimates against your actual spend, adjusting the plans. You're going to engage with your stakeholders, clearly communicating your budgets and your timelines. And near the end of the project, you're going to hand over to the continuing team. And finally, you'll identify the strengths and lessons learned that you can share. You can see here there's a variety of skills that are required for project management, and you're going to have the opportunity to engage with these during University Centre Peterborough time, because we will ask you to have a go at projects and teamwork. Can you conflict manage? Can you manage the risk? Can you take a coaching and a negotiation skill strategy? Can you lead a team? Can you influence others? Each of these skills is defined throughout your time frame within University Centre Peterborough. This would then allow you to be able to discuss them at interview and also develop further these skills so that you're ready for the workplace. Digital literacy skills mean that you have the skills required to live, learn and work effectively in this digital society. There's going to be some basic packages that you need to be proficient in, such as Word, Excel and Outlook. And then there's going to be other packages that are going to help you with your management skills and your organisational skills. Office 365 is a cloud-based set of resources, which means that you can access them over the internet on a variety of machines or tablets, modules, devices, etc. What you'll find here is that the Microsoft package will include things like Word, Outlook, PowerPoint and Excel, but in addition includes chat, the ability to broadcast meetings, collaborate, create content together. You'll be asked during your University Centre time to develop your Office 365 skills, and we provide you with access to an Office 365 account. We would expect you to use this for all of your collaboration and your group work. Part of this includes OneNote, and you might want to explore this to help you monitor your note-taking, your research. It allows you to keep all together your notes, your research, your plans and your information. It's a really helpful tool. As you're also going to be looking at research materials, you need to find an efficient way of managing this, and the best way is through a referencing management system. And there are a variety are available, and if you have a look in the Canvas page or the PDF, they will be listed. There are lots of websites out there that provide free IT software training, such as Allison.com. You might also, though, need to consider what qualifications you can get developed. If you do not have an IT qualification, you may be exploring something like the ICDL qualification, or an alternative level 2 will help you evidence that you have an IT set of skills. In addition, explore what the industry itself requires. Are there certain software packages you should be mindful of and gain skills with them now before you leave UCP? Employers are looking for self-management, the ability to take the initiative, be organised and be accountable. Can you work without being told what to do? Can you think for yourself? Can you take action? Can you prioritise, and are you prepared? Are you efficient? Do you take ownership for responsibility and take pride in your work? Do you look for the better ways to complete a task so you can go the extra mile? There are lots of ways that you can develop your self-management skills. The first one is to identify your strengths, and the Who Are You module will help so that you can identify and focus on which skill sets you need to develop. The next one is to clearly prioritise your responsibilities, and then you can focus your attention on the most critical jobs. You want to develop systems that will help you remain organised, such as using OneNote or a referencing system. You want to create strict, tight deadlines for you. And the deadlines do not need to be the end one, but actually breaking up your assignments into manageable chunks or manageable tasks with checkpoints will help you develop this. You can then perform one task at a time, giving it your full attention to maximise your efficiency. You can take care of your health and your wellness. You can evaluate your progress and avoid procrastination. How do you plan so that you can do short, sharp actions so that you meet your deadlines that you need to? You're going to be asked to evidence self-management throughout your university time with us. And the ways and the skills that you develop will help you with your employment and your career path. Emotional intelligence refers to your ability to recognise, understand, manage and reason with emotions. How do you perceive your emotions? How do you reason with your emotions? What do you understand? And how do you go about managing them? If you are self-aware, you can then recognise and understand your own emotions. You can understand the effect your actions, your mood and your emotions are also having on others. This then allows you to explore how others perceive you. Once you're aware of what your emotions are doing and the impact they're having on you and others, you can then decide how you self-regulate. You can become more flexible and you can adapt to change. You can manage conflict and diffuse a situation. You can become the calm, clear, positive person that employers are looking for. Consider your social skills. Do you have the ability to build relationships and connections? Can you develop a rapport? If not, these are the areas that you want to develop while you're at UCP. Can you develop empathy? Do you understand how others feel, or can you try to imagine what it must be like from their point of view? And consider your intrinsic and your extrinsic motivation. Do you rely on money or accolades or recognition, or do you have inner goals and that is what motivates you? There are numerous tests and quizzes available that you can find out what your emotional intelligence is like. And you can test your ability, but also ask other people how they view you against these 5 components. Critical thinking is the objective is to analyse and evaluate an issue in order to form a judgment. It allows you to consider what else you might need to explore and how this information could be interpreted and identifying alternative viewpoints. You need to be aware of your own personal biases. This will then allow you to look for different views, clearly set some objectives, and then research with this in mind. The ways to develop these skills is to become aware initially of your personal beliefs, your preferences, your learnt behaviours and your biases. You can then consider the objectives of the person that is providing the information to you and try to explore in the unobvious, trying to go beyond what's just at face value. This will then allow you to go further and explore other perspectives. You'll consider these skills and you'll develop them more and more during your time at UCP. You'll be asked to show them during assignments and research modules. Being commercially aware is being conscious of the developments in the business world. It's understanding how industries and businesses work. It's knowing about what's going on in the world and analysing the impact it could have on your chosen sector and company. It's not a skill, but it is a way of thinking. So you want to understand what an employer's business is, what activities they do, products and services they develop, how it's managed and how it could be developed further. You want to understand the marketplace, know who the company's competitors are, how they differentiate themselves from their competitors, how they're following political and economic trends, and what the events are that are affecting the employer currently. You'll also want to know who the major players are, so who are the big companies that are in that sector, who have won major contracts recently or bids. To be able to speculate means you can look at general news, politics, economics and see how these could affect the company in the future, what developments it might want to consider and strategies for the employer. You'll also want to understand the past. Be aware of the patterns that happen in the sector. For example, when does it do its financial year? What's the impact of the financial year on the employer? And finally, what's your role and the impact it will have on the employer's bottom line? By developing industry and commercial awareness, you can then follow professionals on LinkedIn, read magazines, develop industry news to have an understanding for during interview answering questions that relate to what do you know about this commercial awareness, what do you know about this industry and this sector. There's a PDF guide called Commercial Awareness that you can use to fill in questions about your chosen company to help you develop commercial awareness. We've now gone through all of the different ways that you can develop your employability skills while at UCP or in your home time. From this, you can identify which skills you need to develop and how you're going to evidence them if you were asked to interview. There's also an employability skills audit that you can complete. If you are a member of University Centre Peterborough, be that a student, staff member or alumni, you are able to contact the Employer Hub for further support and any advice and guidance. The email address is employerhub@peterborough.ac.uk.